Fallout 4 is one of those games that has a ton of buttons that do tons of things. So is Elden Ring and the Dark Souls series. And if people have gone on to beat those games with unconventional controllers, then it's time Fallout 4 joins the list. Today, I'll be attempting to beat Fallout 4 while using a dance pad. But as an extra kicker, I won't be using every input that Fallout 4 has. For example, I won't be changing items in the pipboy, fast traveling, using companions, using chems, attacking outside of vats, or sprinting just to be special. Here's the control scheme I went with after much trial and error and while setting up JOYTOKEY, and without further ado, let's get into it. After finally getting my buttons set up, it was now time to see if I could actually get out of the vault. I started the game up and just smacked enter until I was able to leave character creation and flexed my skills while I waited for the vault tech rep. When the man of the hour arrived, I set my stats. A 9 in strength for rooted and high damage. Perception, charisma, and luck all became dump stats. A 5 in endurance for some health, 2 in intelligence to get the medic perk to increase my healing efficiency, and a 9 in agility for blitz. I figured this setup would give me the best chance of survival since I couldn't move very much anyway. Next I had to go scare Sean with my telekinesis, and now it was time for the end of the world. Normally this would have been a run for your life section, but I decided to take a leisurely walk and get stuck on every possible fence. After staring at a man who just realized he wasn't the main character, I watched the bombs drop and walked through my new home with enough swagger to impress even me. Alright, cool. God, this feels so much better than yesterday. I actually think I might be able to get out of the vault in like somewhat reasonable time today. I made a run for the weapon that I'd be using for the entire run, only to not be able to use it. Now, I showed you the controls in the beginning to point out how dumb I can be. I tried to fight the first radroach of the vault and kept spamming button presses and freaking out because I couldn't use vats. But after checking the controls, I realized that I was already hitting the wrong button. I'm such a fucking idiot. It's not tab, it's Q. Oh, damn it! That means I could have been doing ages better last time. It's not tab. Oh my god. Okay, fine. Yeah, I've been beating the shit out of my tab button. Oh man, it has nothing to do with tab, you fucking dingle. Alright, I have to select E. God damn it, that makes... Oh, I feel so stupid. Yes, I was trying to access the pipboy that I didn't have instead of using vats. This is gonna happen a lot. But thankfully with that hiccup out of the way, I was able to move through the vault, use the terminal, and smash every radroach that crawled into my line of sight. Next I grabbed the pipboy and opened up the vault, finally ascending to the Commonwealth and officially starting my journey. At this point in the run, I figured the Minutemen questline would be the only available questline, simply because to do the Institute and Railroad questline, you have to repeatedly go into the Institute, and because I can't use my pipboy, teleporting can't be done, as that's the only way inside once you leave. On top of that, I misremembered the Brotherhood questline and thought I'd have to re-enter the Institute for Dr. Lee, but later we'll see that that isn't the case. With this in mind, I headed straight to Concord and had a run-in with the blood bugs near Red Rocket Garage. Okay, cool. Yeah. What? I know my health is low, I can't do anything about it. On a second attempt, I managed to take them out and then arrived in Concord. Taking care of the raiders wasn't so bad as most of them went down with 2 hits. And with the raiders sorted, I leveled up and took... Oh, right. Sometimes the buttons on the dance pad get stuck and the mouse flies off the screen, so I had to add a lookup feature to fix this. With that fixed, I took Blitz for the increase to VATS range, and then made my way into the Museum of Freedom. The raiders inside went down like their friends outside, and I grabbed the first fusion core locked up for experience and a potential power armor to use. Upon finally clearing out the museum, I made it to Preston and the gang, and told them that I would be their sacrificial offering to the deathclaw in Concord. It all started okay, as I was able to deal with the raiders, but realizing I had to wait for my action points to come back and not wanting to lose all that health for nothing, I went and woke up the deathclaw, only to see that I did no damage and I'd have to rely on the raiders for help. And while I did a good job, I got rocked. Since I didn't have the health or damage to tank this thing yet, I tried to lure it to Preston, but this took ages to accomplish. Acting like a chicken in thigh highs and sporting enough daddy issues to make a brand new concert look happy, I tried to entice the Deathclaw to come at me long enough for Preston to deal the final blow, but instead, all I got was 30 minutes of trying to drift around debris while a roided up iguana gave me the smackdown like Bonesaw tried to do to Spider-Man. I was running at Stimpaks and I feared I'd be trapped here forever, but thankfully Preston pulled through and the beast was slain. I met up with the Minutemen inside and thanked them for a job well done, and then abandoned my power armor as the batteries were almost dead and it was only slowing me down. I raced back to Sanctuary to continue their questline, but no one showed up? I headed towards the quest marker only to see Preston emerge into view. Where was everyone else? He still chatted to me as normal, but I was more concerned that no one else was here. I mean, oh well, I guess. I have other things to do and I'm not going to wait around for them. But I did level up and I took Rooted for my level 3 perk. Moving on, I stopped by the Starlight Drive-In for some easy experience, and enough to level up and grab Big Leagues for level 4. Then I headed over to the Drumlin Diner. I tried to test my strength against Wolfgang and Simone, but came up one attack short. But if you can't beat them, join them! I still got paid either way, so as I see it, it's still a win! With that small detour out of the way, I headed towards the Cambridge Police Department to help out Dan's, but the ghouls here didn't want any part of that. On another attempt, I did manage to help out a bit, and then told the Brotherhood I'd be more than happy to tag along as Dan's threw out heaps of experience. With this, I hit level 5 and took Action Boy to get my action points back faster. After a bit of reprieve, Dan's and I headed out towards Arcjet. I followed my quest marker only to realize that it didn't update and it was still stuck on going to 10 Pines Bluff. Luckily, I was able to loop back around and found the familiar sights to lead me to Arcjet. By this point, walking around wasn't too difficult in wide open places, and even without my Buzz Lightyear wannabe escorting me, I still managed to take out some raiders and eventually reunited with Dan's. To no one's surprise, this mission was a breeze. I died in the line of duty, but after a quick Phoenix down, I was back to watching Dan's tank most of the fight while I panicked and begged for help. But this was the last major conflict here. Because of how long it took me to navigate these tight hallways, Dan's had pretty much cleared the whole place out. We traveled into the next section and in a very sluggish manner, I turned Dan's into a hot pocket and then retrieved his science doohickey from some synths that I had definitely taken out myself. We left Arcjet and I hit level 6, taking toughness for my perk. But I still had a way to go, so 10 Pines Bluff was next. On the way over, I began to realize that to beat this run, I wouldn't be able to actually side with the Minutemen, mainly due to pipboy use. When you build the artillery gun at the castle, you have to throw a smoke grenade to signal the shots, but since I couldn't access the other menus of the pipboy, I would never be able to use it. Now, there was nothing stopping me from adding in more buttons to fix this, but I figured that if I just kept adding in more and more buttons every time it inconvenienced me, it would take away from the challenge. So I decided against it and stuck with my normal control scheme for the rest of the game, minus one minor addition towards the end. After realizing this mission was kind of a moot point, I made it to 10 Pines Bluff. I still needed experience and this was a good way to do so, and now being tasked with taking on Corvega, I headed off and walked right off a cliff. On a second attempt, I didn't die walking off a cliffside and walked into Corvega. Luckily, the raiders here were still low level and the baton could deal with them quickly, but I figured the mini-boss Jared would take some technical prowess to take down. So I recruited a Protectron to do my work for me. Normally this Protectron does a pretty good job at taking care of the raiders here, and this time was no different. Not only did he take out the smaller raiders, but he also got rid of the boss for me. By far the easiest time in Corvega yet. With that sorted, I headed back to 10 Pines Bluff to take credit for the Protectron's good work, and then returned to Preston to turn in the quest and immediately left him hanging mid-conversation so I didn't get any other quest off of him, which freed up my quest marker to help me out in the future. But I wasn't done here yet. Before I headed back out, I made sure to accommodate Mama Murphy's, magic candy cravings to get a hold of the course's shutdown code. Too bad for her though, her heart couldn't take it, and as a farewell, the Minutemen came over and made sure to carry out her wish of being the local doormat. I leveled up and took Big League's rank 2 and grabbed the Your Special book to raise my intelligence by 1 before leaving. With Sanctuary officially done for now, I made my way to Diamond City, and thankfully nothing too insane happened on the way. Making it to the outskirts of the city, I tried to fight some super mutants but saw that I still lacked some very much needed damage. So I left and got Piper to swindle the guards to let me inside the Jewel of the Commonwealth. I went and met up with Ellie to grab the quest marker for Nick Valentine and then gave Piper an interview for some experience. Then I made my way over to the Triggerman hideouts. Going into this, the only thing that came to my mind was that if this was too difficult, I'd have to go gain some levels. But to my surprise, I walked in and the baton was two-shotting most of these guys. Finally, Todd threw me a bone. So anyways, I got to smacking. The baton was holding it down for the underground and the only major obstacle here was Dino. But I got a lucky disarm and could tank his wink punches while I waited for my action points to replenish. After saving Nick, we made a beeline for the exit. But it was more like Nick made a beeline for the exit while I fumbled around with the controls. Navigating on a dance pad is a pain in the ass when constricted to tight hallways like these, especially when your buttons start spazzing out. I got stuck in a constant walk animation at one point. After checking JOYTOKEY, the program used to reprogram everything, it was registering that nothing was being pressed, and after a death I reloaded into the game, but now had the opposite problem. Instead of being forced to walk at all times, now I just couldn't walk at all. So naturally, I died again. What made this worse was every other button worked just fine, and when I double tapped the up arrow, I could look up, but still couldn't move. I tried quitting to the main menu and trying again, but still nothing. With no fix in sight, I turned it off for the night and decided to come back to it with fresh eyes. Thankfully, the tried and true method of turning it off and on again fixed everything. All my controls worked and I was able to progress through the Triggermen. I made it to Skinny Malone and tried my best to defuse the situation, but Darla didn't want to cooperate and the next thing I knew I was smacking Skinny Malone while an outside source tried to sabotage me. Thankfully, Nick did most of the heavy lifting, meaning I could get out of here and progress the quest. I walked back to Diamond City and attempted to meet back up with Nick, but my son wanted to show off his sick hopping skills, causing Nick to almost catch a baton to the face. With Nick's dialogue finished up, we went over to Kellogg's house, but couldn't pick the lock, so I had to go and get the key. Easy enough. But what isn't easy was walking down this ramp. I fell off a couple of times and who would have guessed there was a pit down here that prevented me from walking? I hate to admit it, but I fell off quite a bit. Like, it got to the point where I was quick saving like every other step. It was ridiculous. After struggling to walk down the most easiest ramp known to mankind, I did manage to make it up to the mayor's office where I bribed his secretary for the key, and then Nick and I ransacked Kellogg's house. The trail had run cold, so Nick called for Dogmeat to help take me to the next quest, which is fantastic because I know where Fort Hagen is, but having Dogmeat walk me there just means I had less chance of getting lost. On the way, we fought through some mole rats, feral dogs, super mutants, raiders, and ghouls. But at one point, a Yao Guai came, and I knew for a fact I would not be able to fight that at all, so I ran for my life. And only after finding a broken down Assaultron did I get the trail back for Kellogg, and we finally made it to Fort Hagen safe and sound. Hopefully Kellogg does not cause me that much of an issue. Moving into Fort Hagen, I tried to recruit a Protectron to thin out the synths here, but that didn't go so well. So instead, I set the Protectron up to lay down the law and then set him loose. I heard lots of shooting, but when I came to check out the carnage, the opening area was clear. I tried to run past the survivors and booked it to the elevator, but trying to close the doors is way harder than I remember. However, I am a simple man with simple plans, and I refuse to miss out on my elevator ride. Rushing past more synths, I made it to the lower section of the fort, and now I had to be tactical. Taking on these synths took nearly all of my action points, so I had to make sure to separate large groups and solo each synth one at a time. With the amount of beds here, I was able to rest in between fights to preserve stim packs, and I'm glad I did, because the amount of stim packs it would have taken to survive this place in my current condition would have been more than I had. With enough robot smacking, I made it to Kellogg, and the plan was simple. Simple if you have a controller, maybe not as simple if you have a DDR pad. Take out his bodyguards and then focus him. I started the fight as the aggressor and then ran to safety to regain my action points. When the second synth came down to fight, I escorted him straight to robot hell, and then started working on Kellogg. Now, Kellogg's revolver still did a decent amount of damage, so I had to be careful, but with my health stable and action points replenished, I started the fight. So let's try this again. I need him to lose his gun. And I know it can happen. Let me get in this man's shit real fast. Okay, I didn't think that would work, but whatever. Fallout 4 is such a broken game, oh my god. I knew, like, when I said I was gonna get inside him, I did not mean like this. I'm just... Is that his jaw? Am I, like, inside his head? Kellogg, let go of your gun. Kellogg, let go. Yes! 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 Let go of your gun. Oh, it's... Oh! Okay. Kellogg is whooping my ass, bro. Oh, Jesus Christ. Okay. That should be enough, right? Where did you get that gun from? Nate, can you... Nate, what the fuck, dude? I don't know where he got that gun from. Kellogg, quit picking shit up, dude. Okay. What a dazzling performance that was. I grabbed his brains and made the hike back to Diamond City to meet up with Nick and then walked over to Good Neighbor, where I got blasted from trying to step out of my lane. And then got an easy brain tour as I couldn't fall to my death here. But now came the walk to the glowing sea. The hike over wasn't anything special, but once the nuclear ash started falling, I knew I was in the right spot. It's a mod called Vivid Weathers, and all it does is just changes the scenery to give you a little bit nicer view as you walk around the Commonwealth. But this ash that was falling paired with fog made this terrifying, because the only thing it does is it restricts my view. It doesn't change the enemies at all, and now I couldn't rely on my vision to plan my routes. I just had to figure this out by touch and feel. Luckily, the vault suit gave me some kind of rad resistance, so I wasn't drowning in radiation, but that didn't mean I was completely safe. I made it to the children of Adam, but seemed to have dragged some rad scorpions with me. That's okay, the children can take care of them. Or at least I thought they could take care of them. Radiation weapons don't really work on creatures that live in the glowing sea? Okay, so what else could I do to get my quest marker? Oh, okay, yeah, easy. Just wait for the scorpions to kill the leader so I could grab Virgil's location and then make a run for it! The rest of the walk was pretty quiet after this point until I got to the bouncer guarding Virgil's door. Yeah, this guy didn't mess around. After finally making it in, I talked with the Jolly Green Giant and picked up the quest for the Courser chip, and since I had the Courser shutdown code, I figured this would be easy. But first I had to make it out of the glowing sea. This ash fog really made this part of the trek brutal, as seeing deathclaws emerge and chase me down gave me PTSD from Concord, and even after putting some distance between us, ghouls would jump me out of nowhere. Cue more deathclaws, glowing mole rats, ghouls, and rad scorpions, and that's how you describe the perfect vacation spot at the most wonderful place on Earth. After nearly an entire hour from Diamond City to Virgil and back was an hour-long journey filled with death and frustration, but the show must go on. Alright, time for the Gunners, one of the easiest sections of the game, except some raiders tried to prevent me from getting there as long as possible, and I can totally see why. Normally when I do this area, I dose up on jet and just fly through, but obviously I can't do that this time around. That meant I'd have to bulldoze through this one enemy at a time, and yeah, I didn't exactly have enough supplies to do this. I tried just smashing my head against the keyboard trying to get lucky and take out as many gunners as I could, but this just wasn't going to happen this time around. So sadly, for the first time in probably forever, I retreated. But I bet a suit of power armor would make a huge difference here. I guess that means it's time for the faction part of the run. I walked over to the police department and met back up with Dans, who flew me over to the magic sky blimp, whose name I still struggled to pronounce. I borrowed as many supplies as I could, and after meeting with the crew, I gained access to a suit of T-16 Tier 2 power armor with 5 fusion cores. I figured this would be enough to walk back to the gunners and complete my mission, and since I had a fast travel point back and forth to the blimp, this was gonna work out just fine. I raided a ton of supplies from the Boston airport before heading out and ended up with 13 fusion cores. Then made the long walk back to Greentech Genetics, and once back inside, it was me who got to lay down the smackdown this time. Whoever would have guessed that putting a human inside a mobile tank would ever give them more survivability? The difference the suit made was insane. I breezed through this place without any major hassle, and arrived at the courser, who I promptly grounded, so he threw a tantrum. With the courser chip in hand, I made it back to Diamond City to buy some high-powered magnets for a secret quest later. I bought way too many, but there's no point in rushing in and having to backtrack later. With my shopping done, I raced over to the Old North Church to meet up with the railroad. Clearing out the church wasn't anything special, but the code. This code. I don't even like doing this code normally in the base game, but having to do it here was just, oh man, I thought my brain was gonna jump out of my skull. The dial to get into the railroad gave me the hardest time ever. I don't know if it's on a timer or if I just kept clicking the wrong button, but this took 3 tries to get this door to open. So even though the railroad were nice enough to decode the chip for me, trust me, these guys will be getting an angry mob at their front door later on. Count on it. Moving on, now it was time for another hike across the glowing sea. But besides the occasional rad scorpion, nothing too crazy happened, and for some reason this felt way faster than my first go around. The walk back had me die to some sting wings, but for the most part, this glowing sea run was easy. The run to the Brotherhood and the Commonwealth, however, showed me that even power armor can't withstand nuclear annihilation. Making it back aboard the Magic Sky Blimp, I got tasked with cleaning out some super mutants from Fort Strong. An easy task. Or so I thought. I hopped on a vertibird and charged straight into the fort, or as fast as I could recover from being shot out of the sky. But the super mutants, oh boy, they were built different. Even just a regular super mutant was taking about 6 hits. And with how many there were, I died so fast. I tried again while walking to the fort, and I didn't know what I was expecting, but the outcome was exactly the same. I even tried running past everyone outside to the fort inside, and all I got was every super mutant in the nearby area teleporting in and showing me that I had flown too close to the sun, and my wings were now on fire, and being smacked around by an ogre hit squad. So I retreated, unfortunately, and tried to gain some levels through crafting, to which I leveled up once and took blacksmithing rank 1. My only hope at this point would be to hit level 16 and craft the stun pack from the baton. Then I could gain lots of damage output and hopefully turn the tide. But to do that, I needed a lot of XP, and quick. So I dropped off my power armor and made a run for the Nakano residence. The opening quests to Far Harbor give pretty good experience, and I don't really have to do anything to do them. I met up with the Nakanos, borrowed their boat, and once again promised to bring back Kasumi safe and sound. Off to Far Harbor we go. Upon arrival, I watched the citizens defend their town, met up with Longfellow, who escorted me to Acadia, and then fumbled around trying to find evidence for Kasumi. But upon watching a meeting of Starfield executives deciding what to give us and what not to give us, I got punished and was stuck in stealth mode. Now, I say stuck, but all I had to do was add a button to get out of stealth. But where's the fun in that? However, try as I might, I couldn't find any way to kick me out of the crouching animation, so I was forced to reload a save and return to the Commonwealth, still way off from 16. Or that's what would have happened until I found out that if you use a crafting bench while crouched, it forces your character to stand, meaning I could grab all that sweet experience I left on the table. I also checked to see what I needed to craft my Uber baton and headed back to the Commonwealth with level 16 just on the horizon. Before heading back to Fort Strong, I ran around and grabbed the last bits of experience I needed, mainly by discovering locations or getting into fistfights that I wouldn't win, only to realize there were far easier fights just over the hill, only to finally level up and then get lost. How do you get lost when your faction uses the biggest eyesore this game has ever seen? Eventually I made it back on board before constructing the stun baton. But I got stuck in the name section, so now my baton had a name only a Lovecraftian horror could pronounce. But the meat and potatoes could now be eaten. I made the stun pack and straight away I was doubling my damage output thanks to the electricity. With this new power, surely I'd be able to take on Fort Strong and finally progress the main campaign. I went back and grabbed my power armor and tried the fort once again. And yo, the baton was doing work! What used to be a 6-hit kill was now only 3. I did some laps to thin out the crowds outside and then moved inside to keep the party going. Between the disarms and the stuns, I felt unstoppable. That is, until I got melted by a minigun using flaming bullets. I may have a ton of protection, but that doesn't mean I'm unkillable. So I retreated outside and kited some super mutants around the side of the fort, mainly to escape the boulder that the behemoth was throwing, but to also deal with a legendary super mutant that refused to let me use vats to take him out. Maybe it was the elevation, maybe it was a skill issue. Get good, I guess, but I refused to let it get the better of me and finally brute forced my way through. Heading back inside, I found an elevator that took me down to the sub-levels where I had to clear out some more mutants. But these guys were much easier to deal with. All I had to do was lure them in the tight hallways and try to vats across gaps to close the distance. Especially when they had weapons that dealt a lot of damage. With this section cleared, I headed back upstairs to deal with the remaining mutants, only to find another legendary who caught me without any stim packs and tried to shove his minigun down my throat. Since I didn't have the means to win, I had to bail yet again. This is just one of those things that happens from time to time. I returned to the Magic Sky Blimp and tried to repair my power armor, but I didn't have enough materials. So instead, I borrowed another. Let's see if I get shot. Bro, did no one notice? That's actually fantastic. Even I couldn't believe it worked. Then I bought some supplies, and with those, hopefully this would be the last time I went to this silly fort. Making it back to the fort, I ran past the behemoth and ran straight inside to deal with that last remaining super mutant. I had to use all of my stim packs to take down the last legendary one, but I got a sweet incendiary minigun and tons of ammo to turn into caps later on. But heading outside, I was hit with the realization that I would still have to deal with the behemoth solo. I was doing some okay damage considering I was only using a spicy stick, but there was no way I'd be able to stand and tank this damage. To make matters worse, when I used vats to get in close, once vats finished, I was stuck staring at the sky, which usually resulted in my demise. I tried to lure the behemoth away from the fort, but it turns out that it wasn't allowed to walk out of the area. But that might come in handy. I started to head back to the Sky Blimp to heal up, but I found a bed much closer. Okay, hold on. With this, I should be able to whittle down its health and just brute force this, returning back here to gain my health back. So now the strategy was walking to the edge of the behemoth zone, flying into attack, and then running away. It may not be the coolest strategy, but it's the only one I have at this point. Eventually, I got the behemoth down to low health, and things were getting desperate. I was trying to time vats in between attacks, causing them to miss, and then running around while my action points returned, and the last few hits were getting scrappy. Yeah, what if... maybe not 2, maybe 1? Okay. And then run to the ocean. Right? And then... oh, I fucked up. It's 7 hits. How unfortunate. Maybe. I don't know where it is. Oh, I don't know where it is. Okay. This has to do it, right? Yes! Yeah! Let's go! Woo! I was finally done! I could finally continue the freaking game! Before heading out, I met up with Dance, who would look over the area and then return to Elder Maxon, all while enjoying a rad storm. This is the benefit of vivid weathers, this type of rad storm right here. Once aboard the Sky Blimp, I got tasked with building the teleporter to get inside the Institute, and this is where I had to add another button. No, it wasn't a mouse input to spin pieces to get them to line up, although that did give me some grief, but it was the space bar to attach power cables to each of the pieces. With the teleporter built, I headed inside, but I couldn't just rush things while I was here. I was on a mission to track down Madison Lee and get her to come back to the Brotherhood. So, there won't be any father bonks. Yet. I met up with Madison Lee and informed her of my mission, but she required some evidence against the Institute to get her to leave. So now I had to do some snooping. And thankfully, I got the luckiest lockpick ever to get inside. Now I had to contend with turrets and a pissed off Assaultron. It gave me a run for my money, vaporizing me and just putting out way more damage than I was prepared for. I had to use all my stim packs fighting it, as I just had to soak the damage. But now I barely had any health to work with for anything else later on, meaning the turrets in the next room eviscerated me. On another attempt, I hacked the turrets, grabbed the info for Dr. Lee, and now had to leave the Institute. But using the teleporter at the top of the Institute doesn't work, so I had to resort to more physical means. I bashed in Father and made a run for it, but trying to click the elevator lost me a ton of health. Arriving at the top, I made it out by the skin of my teeth. I didn't see how many there were. God, you guys are so fucking strong. Ooh, that may have done it. Come on. Come on, come on, come on. Fucking run! Yes! And because of where it puts me, it'll put me in the CIT ruins, which is literally down the street from a big pile of beds. Yes! Now, free of the Corpo regime, I made the long hike back to the Blimp Fortress. Not without getting lost along the way because of my quest marker trying to take me back to Far Harbor. Alright, the light at the end of the tunnel. It was now time to start rebuilding Liberty Prime. This is where all those handy high-powered magnets came into play. With them, I got to build parts for our mega robot. But what's a robot without any weapons? Nothing, that's what. But we couldn't just give it any weapons to use. No, we needed nukes. Lots and lots of nukes. Time to get back to the glowing sea, which is a lot easier said than done. See, Vivid Weathers is awesome in the sense that it makes the weather pretty, but man, if it doesn't make night harder to navigate than being given directions by a drunk person who has only been to the area once. Yeah, so anyway, I went around in circles for about 30 minutes until I made it to Bunker Hill, and now at least had an idea of where I was. But as if the night sky wasn't hard enough, now I had to deal with the fog again. I did somehow find the edge of the glowing sea, and then met up at Waypoint Echo to get a distress beacon to mark the bomb's location. The next stop, the Sentinel site. Thankfully, as I began the journey to the Sentinel site, the glowing sea seemed to spaz out and the fog dissipated and the rads stopped. But almost as soon as I opened my mouth, the fog rolled back in. I mean, at least I could see this time. God damn it! As I got closer, it started to rain, and luckily I had found my destination. Now inside, I stumbled down the ramps and ran into my first group of enemies. The ghoul wasn't that bad, but the mole rats were out for blood. They took tons of my non-existent health, which means the next batch of ghouls tore me to shreds. So I healed up and tried again. Thankfully, this time the ghouls were more than happier to come at me one at a time. Moving on, I cleared out some more ghouls and then came to the Children of Adam member and his dumb robot. To complete this mission, I needed to open a door that he had the key to, and to get the key, I can either kill him or talk him into giving it to me. But keep in mind I have a charisma of 1. The Child of Adam was easy, but his Assaultron was a menace. I tried this fight a couple of times and the result always ended the same. I didn't have enough stim packs to tank the damage here, so I had to rely on a speech check to pass through. Look, I had to redo the speech check every time I talked to the man anyway, so it is what it is. And after getting absolutely slapped by his Assaultron, I finally passed the check and could plant the beacon for the Brotherhood and begin the long walk back to the Sky Blimp. But on the way back, I got lost. And I'm not talking, oh, I misplaced where I was supposed to go. No, I was super lost. I saw the blimp in the distance at one point, but as I swam, the blimp disappeared, and now I was just heading in the last direction I saw it. Like, look at this and tell me where I am. I ended up at Fort Strong, which is a win because at least I know where I am now, but the amount of radiation I took was insane. I arrived back at the Boston airport and told everyone about the nukes I grabbed for Optimus Prime, and now Elder Maxon needed to talk to me. Turns out Paladin Dan's was a hoe and needed to be put down. Before leaving, I tried to buy some supplies, but my son wanted to help me out, so I had him push the up arrow for me, and then carried him while I finished shopping. With that sorted, I walked on over to Listening Post Bravo. Inside, I had to deal with some Protectrons, but got wrecked due to an impromptu explosion and laser rounds. So on my next attempt, I raced in and made sure to use way more than enough stim packs to soak the damage and then strike back. Further in, I found Dan's and didn't even give the man a chance to speak. Once a hoe, always a hoe. Elder Maxon was more than happy to hear of my accomplishments, but seeing how I could handle myself in a 1v1, now I was tasked with hunting down the railroad. But due to the power of my Uber Baton, I didn't see this as any more than a bump in the road, so I dropped off my power armor and headed straight to the Old North Church. My, oh my, what a mistake that was. By now, I had gotten the hang of running back and forth to the middle of the map, and this walk was more like a sprint with how little time it actually took me to get there. I kicked in the doors and got to work. The random railroad members being sent to combat us were no match. The baton was absolutely destroying here. But this just lured me into a false sense of confidence, because the real fight was in the railroad headquarters. Glory was the main threat with that minigun of hers, and even when I disarmed her, I had to worry about a big-ass rifle or one of her dumb friends picking up the minigun, and sadly, I had moments like this.
Boy, y'all didn't send fucking nobody. Thanks, Nate. Tab out, buddy. Oh, we can cancel like that. Okay. Cool. Much better. Come on. Come on. Come on. Those are good hits. Those are good hits. I'm not complaining. Glory needs to fucking die. Cool. Hit her again. Just keep her in a constant state of fucked. Yes. Come on, if I take you out, I'll save. If I take you out, I will save. Come on, Glory. That's right. That's right. Don't fucking do anything. Come on. Come on. That's right. Come on. One more hit. Let's go. You're the only reason I'm stuck here. You're the only reason I'm stuck. This is it. This is it. This is it. Get fucked, Glory. Ooh. Let's go. Oh, Jesus. Stop, Nate. Stop. Stop. No. Why?
So close, yet so far. It got to the point where I was teleporting in, killing people, and then canceling the animation to reduce being shot at. Glory being the biggest threat was always the priority, and my only hope was getting her stuck with stuns or possible disarms. But when it came to disarms, I had to manage whoever picked up the damn gun next, and then immediately bounce to the next person. I managed to pull this off, but honestly, I'm not sure how. Through
Aha. Okay, fuck drummer boy, let's go. Dead. Next. Cool. Next. Cool. Next. Aw, it wasn't supposed to be Tom. Oh well. Should be at full health, right? You're the reason. Let go. Let go. Yeah, that's right. That's right. Get cocky. That's what I want. Get up in her face. Perfect. Deacon. Put it down. Put it down, my guy. Put it down. Cool. Okay, turn back around. Fuck you, Tom. Fuck you, Tom. That's right, that's right, that's right. Suck my dick, Tom. I'm not going down like this. Not like this! Okay. Go. Okay, where's Glory? Where's Glory? Glory, you piece of shit, where are you? I know you're in here. Where are you? Ah! Drop the gun. Drop the gun. Drop the gun. Drop it. Oh, that's perfect. 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 Oh, I think I got it. Oh my god. Bashing my head into the keyboard and praying to Todd Howard himself for some stuns. Finally, it was all ogre now. Time to report back for a job well done. Back at base, Ingram informed me that we needed a super battery to finish off Liberty Prime, and the best part about this was that she was gonna fly me there. I've done this mission dozens of times. This was gonna be a breeze. We flew over to Mass Fusion and dropped in. Besides some silly synths shooting at me, it was just like old times. We jumped in the elevator and I hid on the side to avoid as much damage as possible. Then I went and grabbed the super battery while soaking up the rads with the power armor suit. The robot guards that came to fight had nothing on the two of us. Sorry, almost had nothing on us. The Assaultron laser beam is still insane. But on attempt number 2, we smacked the robot so hard that the dead sentry robot was throwing a tantrum. I told you this would be easy. I returned to the airport and plugged in the super battery, allowing Liberty Prime to walk free and terrorize all of the communist invaders. This was by far the easiest walk I had had this entire run. I had earned this. The Brotherhood ending is by far one of the longest to set up, but one of the easiest to finish. The firepower these guys bring to the table is unmatched, and they will basically do the entire Institute raid for you. Don't believe me? Once we made it inside the Institute, Elder Maxon and a Brotherhood Knight turned everyone into Swiss cheese as they tore through the lab with miniguns. The only time things ever got weird is when the rando scribe with us tried to fight ghosts. We pushed on, and in record time they cleaned out the main hub and pushed towards the reactor. But not everyone made it out. The knight with us met his demise just as we reached our goal. Jesus Christ. Oh, fuck! Oh, no! We lost a homie! Jesus Christ! His death would not go down in vain. I rigged the Institute to explode and was whisked away while I watched the whole thing go up in smoke, finishing the run. I tried so hard to get it in frame. I looked the wrong fucking way. It's done! This run was brutal. With the exception of the Triggerman and the final assault on the Institute, I don't think I ever had an easy time. Getting used to the controls weren't terrible, but in some of these life or death scenarios and trying to push multiple buttons at the same time, it's amazing how much you overstep or hit other keys on accident.
It really puts it into perspective that anyone using a DDR controller to play any game that doesn't have a build suited for this kind of style is just a god gamer. No doubt about it. I'm going to try to push out one more run before we make the jump to Starfield, and if for some reason that doesn't happen, then I'll see you over on YouTube where I'll be doing my first full playthrough streamed live for you guys, just to see what kind of nonsense we can get up to. But before we go today, I want to give a huge shout out to the homies over on Patreon for going that extra mile. And if you'd like to become one of these lovely people, check out the link in the description. For only $1 a month, you get your name in the credits and get to see the run happen as I record it, plus any silly commentary I make as I go. Thank you so much for stopping by today, and if you have any suggestions, make sure to leave them in the comments below. As always, I've been Chris from Crisis Gaming, and I'll see you on the next one.